I am bringing in people who are going to be a part of the bigger picture. Those that have been listening, I've put up about 20 episodes of this program in the last 6 months. Put a lot of personal time and energy into it. Some of you have seen me calling highlights of sports games for South Central Conference basketball on YouTube. And the end game here isn't for myself or for Alan Bozeman or for Jeremy Winston, people that are on the ticket on ASN to get personal pub on YouTube or on Facebook. The goal is to actually raise money for young people to establish sports programs. So if we're able to raise money and go to areas that are downtrodden, areas that would like to have basketball teams or put together cheerleading programs but don't have the finances, the goal is for Advent Sports Network, which is a 503c charity, to be able to step in and fill that void and go to leadership and really be a part of grassroots movements in the community to keep young people surrounded by church activities as opposed to being on the streets where they're prey to all types of foolishness. So when we started establishing the board of directors for Advent Sports Network, I started to look at my Rolodex of people who were virtuous, people who were intelligent, people who have experience mentoring youth, both in the Seventh-day Adventist community and abroad. And our next guest is one of the first people that came to mind, especially on the mentorship angle. Our next guest is a long-standing friend of mine. I won't tell stories about her. We were talking before we started about we could go back and forth with stories on each other. Some of them would be offensive. It would cause us to probably actually get in an argument on the show. But our next guest is someone I've been tight with her for many years. She grew up coming to my church. Her sister and I went to her older sister and I went to the same church as I was a kid, and she would come and visit during the summers. I went to Oakwood with this young lady. Good friends, have maintained that friendship into adulthood. I've had the chance to watch her young children grow up and really becoming not babies anymore, but actually I believe her oldest is heading into kindergarten, heading into first grade soon. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Arlene Archer. She is the host of a program that's also on YouTube, which is an excellent program, a ministry program. She talks about fitness. She talks about the whole psychological aspect of managing mental health. Arlene has a very high-level doctoral degree that's over my head, but I know it's in psychology. So I'd like to welcome Arlene to my show and say, hey, first of all, thank you for coming on the show, Arlene. Second of all,
thank you for having me.
Thank you much more for being a part of the board of directors at Advent Sports Network. And like I said before, insulating me from myself, people like you and Myron, Al Johnson, people that have credibility and can help me take this charity to places I can.
Well, thank you, James, for having me. Listen, when you called me or contacted me in regard to this, I mean, I did not even need to ask any questions. For sure, I was going to be on board. But it is just hilarious to me that we are even in this position together because, like you were saying, yeah, I know all kinds of stories about you. I've known you from way back in the day.
Way
all
back.
all kind of crazy stuff, and it's just to see and know that, and then to see and know you now. I'm like, wow. It's just hearing you so well-spoken and professional. Not that you weren't then, but I mean, like, whoa.
Yeah, I was brilliant in college. Let's not.
I'm not trying to put all your stuff out there. I'm just saying, 19. Praise God for growth and development and maturity, and the Lord has really, really been a strong force in your life. So we praise God for that. But yes, I am blessed to be a part of this situation we have here.
Indeed, indeed. Tell us a bit about, before we go into the Advent Sports Network stuff, tell us about TheLifeDctr. Tell us about your YouTube channel and all of the great things that you're talking about, that you're blogging about, that you're writing about. How did you come up with that concept, and what are some of the things that you discuss on your programming?
Absolutely. So for those of you who may not know specifically, James kind of alluded to this. I have a degree in psychology. I'm a clinical psychologist. And so because I have a love and a passion and a conviction with regards to helping people improve the quality of their lives, I thought that in this day and age where we have all these different venues and platforms, particularly social media, to reach out to people, why not be a part of that movement as well? And so I thought that I could start up a YouTube channel. So many people are doing it. I looked at other people's videos and thought, well, I can do this because I do this type of thing, and I'm referring to motivating people and encouraging people. I do this kind of thing professionally, as a psychologist. That's a part of what I do. As a professor of psychology, advising students, encouraging students, that's a part of what I do. So why not take this to a broader audience and reach people that I may never get to reach in my day-to-day interaction, because I'll never meet them in real life. And so that's kind of where that was born. But then when I started to think about it, I didn't want to just keep it focused on things pertaining to psychology or things that are emotionally, a burden to people. I wanted it to be even broader than that. And so I wanted something that would kind of encapsulate that vision of it being a broader ministry, reaching a broader audience and covering just a wide range of topics. And so I figured, since I am a doctor and I want to cover whatever life entails, then TheLifeDctr. And so that's kind of how I came up with TheLifeDctr and my channel. And so really I do talk about pretty much whatever I have either experienced in the past that I feel comfortable sharing, and I do try to be very transparent, what I'm going through now or what I think that people are going through themselves, and something that I might have a little bit more insight into just because of my background in psychology and education. And so more recently, the different things that I've been vlogging about and talking about have to do with fitness, because I recently went on, and I'm still going through and, making changes in my life, but I recently went on a lifestyle journey where I lost a significant amount of weight. I lost between 85 and 90 pounds, and this, began informally after having my daughter, who is now 2, but more formally, maybe 9 to 12 months ago. And I really, really wanted to kind of give back to others what I had received from others. What I mean by that is just looking at other people's Facebook posts and looking at other people's blogs on YouTube. I was really impressed, and I was really inspired and encouraged to be able to even embark on this huge endeavor for me, losing this amount of weight. And it was because of those inspiring posts and those inspiring videos that I was able to, of course, with God's help, accomplish this goal and surpass my goals. And so I was really just on fire and really wanted to be that inspiration for somebody else, another mother who's struggling, another man who is struggling, whoever, and just let them know that if they can do it, if I can do it, so can they. And just really, really, really be that motivating force for them. So that's pretty much what I've been talking about more recently. But of course, I talk about things that impact your life, like relationships. I talk about finances, organizing your home, raising your children, homeschooling. That's something that I'm also very passionate about, because I'm now, homeschooling my kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So my 5-year-old is in kindergarten, and my 2-year-old is, of course, at the preschool level. So I'm very passionate about that. That is a growing passion of mine. And so, again, whatever I'm experiencing, whatever issues I think may be of value and important to other people, I'm going to blog about it. I'm going to talk about it on YouTube.
So a very thorough description of your program, TheLifeDctr. I would advise those that listen to my program to definitely check it out. It's very inspirational. Kind of the format, it's, from what I've seen, you put the camera on you, so you're actually talking. It's not like my program, which is a radio format.
Right,
like
absolutely.
You tape interviews.
Yeah, it's
really,
pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah. You go in on some very important topics. You are a professional psychologist. One of the things that's overlooked, and this is a sports show, so I'm gonna take us back to the sports element eventually. But this is very compelling. One of the things, and even with athletes, one of the things that we really often overlook in society, especially in the athletic realm, especially in the Christian church, especially in the Seventh-day Adventist church, is the importance of mental health. People are really struggling with issues, rather they've been through something from their childhood that they haven't been able to let go of. People are going through issues within their marriage. People are going through issues within as they raise children. People are going through spiritual questions. People have mental health deficiencies where they're not able to regulate and this is getting to the stuff that's over my head, but they're not able to regulate properly mentally, and they can't control outbursts. They can't control feelings of sadness. Why is it so important as a Christian woman and as a mother, why is it so important to share your experience as a professional with individuals about maintaining and managing their mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, mental health is something that I think a lot of people take for granted because they're unaware of how pervasive mental illness is. And so as a Christian mom, as a professional, I don't want to overlook this for any population, including people that are involved in sports, professionally or otherwise. I think that it is so important to kind of bring this to the forefront to really make people be aware is that we don't want people falling by the wayside because of a lack of resources. We don't want people to fall by the wayside because they feel like they are alone in this journey, in this fight for maintaining or obtaining mental health. I mean, it is so pervasive within the celebrity world, within the just general population in the church. And unfortunately, it is very pervasive in the church. One of the reasons why is because it's swept under the rug so much. There's so much shame, there's so much stigma attached to it that a lot of Christians do not want to address this. So then when you add being a Christian to being, to having something else that's kind of in the public eye, like being a professional athlete, somebody who is performing or expected to perform. So you have that Christian kind of history where we don't talk about it. We're just going to pray it away. And I don't want to minimize or trivialize prayer because clearly I am a woman of prayer, woman of faith, and I believe that with God all things are possible. So it is so important that we address this within the general population, but particularly within the church setting, particularly with those who, along with being Christians and are accustomed to sweeping these issues under the rug, are also athletes and in the public eye, because there's that added pressure of being watched, of having to perform, of having to be quote-unquote perfect. And a lot of these individuals are struggling with depression, struggling with eating disorders, struggling with anxiety to perform. I mean, throwing up, just having panic attacks. I mean, just all sorts of things that people are experiencing. And so I just feel it's really important to let people know that these things, first of all, are real, like it exists, because there's a population of people who think that this is something that is self-imposed. Like, if you really want to not be sad, you can just decide to not be sad. Right. If you really want to not have anxiety, you can just decide to not have anxiety. And I don't want to, again, minimize, just like I don't want to minimize the power of prayer, I don't want to minimize the power of positive thinking, because I think that there's something to that as well. That's true. How we think certainly does impact how we feel and how we behave. But then there are certain issues and elements that are kind of beyond that, like chemical imbalances. And when we don't have enough of the right chemical or too much of certain chemicals, that can really throw things off kilter. And that's when we're going to need some extra help. And I really want to educate people on the seriousness of that, and that it's real and exists, and that there's help out there, and that you're not the only one dealing with this issue.
So very encouraging words from a professional. We're going to take a break for some of our sponsors on the TheLifeDctr radio show, and I'll be back with more of Dr. Arlene Archer, host of her show, TheLifeDctr. We are back with the TheLifeDctr radio show. I'm talking to one of my good friends over the years, Dr. Arlene Archer. She's going to be a member of the Advent Sports Network Board of Directors. She's going to help play a very pivotal role in putting together the mentorship program. You've heard some of the commercials on my show with the we have an institute, a program development leadership institute for young individuals that want to get into media. One of the deficiencies in the SDA church, I can't speak for other Christian listeners out here, but in the SDA church, and Arlene's a pastor's kid, I'm a pastor's kid, in the SDA church, it's very geared towards individuals that can preach and individuals that can sing. There are people with other talents. There are people that don't play sports, they don't sing, they don't preach, but they're excellent writers. And they have interest in doing media both in front of and behind the camera. So we're trying to start a program that will help bolster that activity and actually encourage people. So I want Dr. Archer to be a part of that. Could you tell us, Dr. Archer, I know you did a stint at Oakwood. You were a very, for people that I know that have taken your class, I hear that you're a very, what's the word I'm looking for? You're very thorough, and you expected your students to be very thorough in their approach to your classes. Yes. I mean, you were very serious about your calling to spend that time at Oakwood, even though it wasn't many, many, many years, but you were serious about the calling for the time you were there. What is the importance in mentorship to young people? I mean, you've talked about mental health, and you've talked about your own fitness journey. What's the importance of being a member, not just as a parent, and a pastor's wife, which you are, so you and your husband, Oliver, do ministry together in the Metro Detroit area. But what's the importance of wrapping all of that up and bringing young people in and kind of passing your knowledge and wisdom that you've worked so hard to attain over many years to the next generation?
Absolutely. Like you said, I was blessed to be able to minister through teaching at Oakwood from 2005 to 2008. So it was a very short tenure there, but thoroughly enjoyed my time there, really felt convicted that that's where I needed to be at exactly that time. And so during that time, I was able to mentor and teach young people. And I took it so seriously because I really feel like, particularly with minorities, a lot of our children are kind of falling by the wayside, and there's so much that they can learn from inappropriate sources. And I wanted to kind of help buffer some of that and be one of the positive sources that they learn something from. And not just that, but because I was the age that I was when I was teaching at Oakwood, I was relatively young. I was like in my late 20s. So I was relatively young. I felt like I wasn't that far removed from the students that I was teaching. And so for me, I felt like they can look at me and see somebody who was relatively accomplished, having completed a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate prior to teaching there. So they could see somebody that was not that far removed from what they looked like, literally, and somebody that literally learned in the very classrooms that they were learning in, so that if she could do it, in their minds they're thinking, if she could do it, then certainly so could I. And that's really the imprint that I wanted to leave with them. If God can use me, if God can help me matriculate through, what you might feel is a difficult course of study, what you might feel is impossible, if He can help me do this, He can certainly help you do it. And look, I'm here. I'm real. I'm not somebody in a textbook. I'm real. I exist. And I look like you. So it's possible for us, for our people, to do this. And so I really wanted students, those students and students in general, because I feel like for me, education, period, is a passion. It's a conviction, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's from the pulpit, whether it's in therapy, because a part of what I do in therapizing people is educating as well. But I really, really, really want, you know, our students in general to understand that it is serious. Education is not a joke. Yes, there are people that are very successful. There are people that make loads of money with what we would consider a minimal amount of education. But what you know cannot ever be taken away from you. And even those people with quote-unquote limited education, they have education in other ways that may not be from a book, but they are very well-versed in what they do.
Hard knocks.
That's right. They are very well-versed in what they do. They are an expert in what they do. That's why they're successful. And so for these students that wanted my signature, my name on a recommendation letter for graduate school, well, I wasn't going to be signing my name to any foolishness. So you're not going to come to me asking for recommendation, but you're not stringing together a sentence appropriately in the term paper that you're supposed to be turning into me. So that's not happening. So I wanted to help them get it together so that when they transition out of that insular supportive setting and go to maybe a graduate setting or a workplace that may not be as supportive or understanding, that they are equipped. I didn't want those students or any student that I come across to be ill-equipped for whatever next stage God has for them. And so my commitment to them, and I told them this, that while you're under my care, while it is my watch, we're going to be all about business. We can laugh and grin and do all and be friends, hee-hee, but when we're in the classroom, we're not playing games. We're not playing, not on my watch, because I have you for the time that I have you, and that is it. And I feel like God held me responsible to doing my best in helping to shape these young people. Now, what they decide to do or what they decided to do after they left, you know, my time with them, I have nothing to do with that. But I would know and be able to sleep well at night because I did everything that I could do to show them, to teach them, to help them, to tutor them, to encourage them, to be whatever I needed to be in that time that I had them so that they could be as well equipped as they could be for the next level.
So for those listening, this is the same aura and enthusiasm that Dr. Archer is going to bring to Advent Sports Network as far as mentoring. I really want her to, she's going to be working and assigned with Michaela Arthurs, who is kind of our young sensation. She's up at Pine Forge. She has her own show, Falcon Pride. She was really one of the people to help launch Advent Sports Network before she went to Pine Forge. And we just want people like Dr. Archer that are going to give back, that have taught and been in academia, also someone who's a parent and can impart that knowledge and wisdom. I want to tell a few funny stories. It's funny that you talked about that you won't sign your name. I don't know if you remember this. Many years ago at Oakwood, you used to tutor at the Tutoring Institute. I think it was called
Yes,
CAA.
I did.
I'm getting old.
Center for Academic Achievement? Was that what it's called? Something like that.
So it's very funny you talked about your endorsement because I was a chemistry whiz in high school. I was really, really good at chemistry. Too lazy to be a biochem major, but that was actually my strongest suit. Even though I wasn't taking college-level chemistry, I'd already taken a college-level chemistry course when I was between Pine Forge and Oakwood. So I was been in these advanced placement chemistry level classes. So I used to tutor chemistry. I wanted to tutor it at CAA to get paid for it. Arlene was already there tutoring, so I was friends with Arlene, and I pulled Arlene aside. I said, hey, can you give me a letter of endorsement?
Really? Did you ask me that?
And so I asked you for that. If you went through the same spiel that you just went through just now, you said,
I did?
James, you know, you're my friend, but I can't give you a letter of endorsement unless you can verify to me what are your credentials, who have you tutored, what grades did they get, can I get someone that can endorse that you've actually tutored? And I'm looking at you like, I'm like, dude, like this is a tutoring job at CAA.
Okay.
We're
I do not remember this. at all.
So it's funny that you are still as much of a stickler and still as thorough, because you gave me the same degree when I came to tutor at CAA. So I find that very funny. I know I'm gonna let you tell your story. I'm not gonna bash. Yeah, I remember times. Another good story I have on you. I'm gonna have to tell this. So if you get Yanis and Sheba to listen.
Oh my Lord.
For those listening, we're way off topic, but I don't care, it's my show, so I'm gonna say what I want to say. Because Arlene's sister lived in the same city I lived in, sometimes Arlene would ride home with me to Columbus, Ohio from Oakwood. And she had two really close friends who I became friends with over the years. And we would all ride together, which is common for people that go to college abroad. I mean, you carpool. And sometimes they would head to Canada from your place, or sometimes they would stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
But one day, the three of you were riding with me. Y'all had to get out of the dorm, so you ended up staying with me and Albie, who had a pretty big apartment.
Yep.
So you stayed in our living room. So the three of you stayed in our living room. We were packed up and ready to go. It was late. I think I went out to hang out with some of my friends or was doing some stuff in the city. So I left the three of you alone in our apartment. Really nothing suspected. I mean, we were all cool, so I used to hang out there. It was whatever. I come back, and I had a key to the apartment because it's my apartment, as I should, because I paid rent there. However, for some reason, these three young ladies felt that I may have been an intruder. So I was ambushed by three West Indian ladies with makeshift weapons. I think Nashiba came in swinging on a chandelier like Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, she jumped off of a chair. And I was like, ladies, this is my place. Like, why y'all beat me up? And you guys looked at me, and you were like, hey, we didn't know who you were. Like, you could have been here to meet the time. So I say that, although Arlene is very articulate and a very nice person, very, very mentorship oriented, she does have another side. Where
safety first. Ask questions later.
Safety first, exactly. So I'll let you tell your story about me, and then we'll wrap up the segment, because you have. Okay. I like people to clown me on my show because it's good for ratings. So
now listen, I wasn't going to say anything, but since I have been given the okay, I'm going to go ahead and share because it's hilarious. Well, it's funny, but it's not. I don't know. You decide. So anyway, back in college, I, was kind of up to no good with my girlfriends and a cousin of mine. Now, we're really nice people. We're really loving people, but I mean, we really, really wanted to get James. And I don't even know how we came up with this, like why we thought this was a good idea, but some kind of way
why did you want to get James specifically?
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know why James was the target. I just feel like we wanted to do something, like we were just in a mischievous mood. And when we started talking about what we could do, I think you just seemed to be the best person to fit because we felt like you would fall for it. And it would be hilarious. I mean, I'm just saying, we felt like this would be perfect. So that's what we did. So we knew that at that particular time, James was very serious about the Lord, as he is now. But he was very serious about the Lord and study. And I don't even know if he was talking about, I don't know if you were talking about like the Lord coming soon or whatever tip you were on, but we were like, this is going to work. So my cousin and my friends and I, we decided to trick him into thinking that it was the last days and people from the government were coming to get him to like take him off to some kind of camp or compound where they were going to be housing, Christians because they were Christians because it's the last days. And so we apparently enlisted the help of like one of his really good friends, I think, somebody that he would have believed. Like James has a lot of friends and a lot of them, are kind of like jokesters. And so he wouldn't have believed this coming from just anybody. So we picked somebody that he would really, really believe this story from. And so he was enlisted. So basically, my cousin, who was in nursing administration and had a very professional voice, now, I did as well, but obviously he would know it was me, so I couldn't make the call. So we enlisted my cousin, who could really put on a very professional, militant kind of persona.
She did a really good job. I'll never
right.
forget that.
So she called James, and basically we gave her all kinds of personal information about James that she shouldn't know, that a stranger shouldn't know. So that was going to kind of up the ante and really convince him that, oh my goodness, this is the government. They have all this, like she knew information about his father, like all kinds of stuff. And so basically she convinced him that I am who I say I am, and I know who you are, and this is really happening. You need to come with us. You need to come with us. You need to, pack all your bags because the Lord is coming soon and we are taking you away to this facility and we are coming right now. You need to get it together. Da, da, da. And James was frightened. He was frightened and he got his bags together. He was like telling people bye, and I don't know if he was writing letters or what, but let me tell you, I think we were there when she actually made the call. So we were dying inside, dying of laughter.
Yeah, I was about to go on the run.
I mean, so I don't even know how or when we actually told him that this was not for real. But when we did, it was you know what, honestly?
Well, Keith told me as I was putting the first bag into my automobile to head west away from Huntsville. So he finally told me, and he started laughing. Actually, he laughed so hard, he was falling over on the ground laughing in front of our apartment, and some other people came out and laughed. But that was very well executed, very well played, Dr. Archer.
Let me just say this: the well played execution is going to speak well of the well played execution and devotion and commitment that I have in terms of follow through. So as I mentor these young people, I really am going to put in that same follow-through. It's going to be for a good purpose. We're not going to be tricking anybody. We're really going to be committed, though. See, I was committed. We were committed to that thing. See, if you want something to work, you really have to be committed. So, I'm glad that James took it as well as he took it, although I know I'm going to have to watch my back.
You would have to watch your back regardless. I had never forgotten.
But that was good. But it was kind of not funny, though. But it was good.
No, it was funny. It was by far the best prank that anyone's ever played on me. I've been pontificating over this. This happened in 1999.
Yeah, way back.
More than 15 years ago. But I've been figuring out an open, in many ways, Arlene, that's why we're still friends, because I have to keep some type of tabs on you so I can get you back. Like if you go too far underground, then I'm not going to be able to get you back. All of that said, it's great having you on the show. I really look forward to you bringing all of the talent and really your passion for young people to Advent Sports Network. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to raise a lot of money. So really, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Blessings.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blessing thus far as I journey with you, and I look forward to the journey ahead.
The Lance J Radio Show is taped at Advent Sports Network Studios, located in beautiful Emerald City of Seattle, Washington.